believe it started. I welcome you all who is listening us now and about to join us later. I'm Natella Malishawa and I'm representing the Training Center NOST. And I have a great honor to present our very profound guest today, Professor Yuri Vionsky. Professor Yuri Vionsky, the president of Estonian Transpersonal Association, founder and the president of International School for Transactional Hypoanalysis, lecturer at many different universities and colleges around the world. And after 30 years of practice as a psychotherapist, he is running courses in 65 countries all around the globe. Professor Yuri is also a vice president of Eurotas. First of all, I would like to thank you, Professor, to giving us a chance to be our guest today. And I will start as a very simple and outdated one. I would like to ask you to define for us, what is a transpersonal psychology? I know it's a very relatively new dimension in psychology. Why it's there, why it's been created or bring to life, and how it helps.
Okay. You ask me about definitions, and I always find definitions difficult because, you know, it's like a defined love. What is love? But transpersonal psychology is actually not new. It's actually the oldest psychology in existence because it's the spiritual aspect of the human being. So basically, we take an ancient beliefs, ancient shamanic theories, ancient Eastern philosophies, and combine it with our Western culture to look at the soul of the person much deeper. Transpersonal means beyond the ego. So the person is just one drop in a sea, and the big sea is an ocean. So we're not just who we are part of a much bigger universe, much bigger world, and we are affecting each other and getting affected by each other all the time.
Yes, unfortunately, that's true. I've been watching your interviews a lot recently, and I come across very interesting things. You're saying that you're not a therapist, you're an educator. And
Yeah.
Yes, and you always emphasize that we have to learn how to talk with ourselves, how to communicate with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you also emphasizing on a very important point, we have to start it from a very early childhood, from a kindergarten. I would like to explore on that little bit more. I would like us to discuss what is the role of a parent to help a child to find himself and to communicate with him or himself. Which age they have to start doing it and what they have to do.
Okay. Okay, let's assume one thing. Life does not begin at birth. Life begins long before that. There is enough scientific evidence now to prove, it's called the prenatal experience, that the fetus in the mother's womb is already affected by the outside world. So the relationship with the child starts with the beginning of pregnancy.
There is a big connection between a mother and a child.
Okay, wait. You're talking here to a man, okay? The problem that I have with psychology is they're talking too much about mother and child, and they forget the sperm donor.
I never meant to. That's what I wanted to ask now. So what to do with the father then?
Yeah. So they both have to communicate with the child. You see, there are two things. Because our social evolution, the woman feels responsible. It's my child. I'm giving birth to it. The man is in a way pushed away. But on the other side, the man, because of his social upbringing, feels that, you know, until the child does not walk and talk and being user-friendly, I have nothing to do with it. Exactly. So it's two sides of the coin. So in a way, the education starts not in kindergarten, the education starts with parents. So I'll give you an example. Okay, a young couple have decided to get married and they decided to have children. Before you start to have children, can you please sit down and discuss with each other what will be the responsibility of each one of you? What do you expect from each other regarding the upbringing of the child? And what is your value system regarding raising up a child? Let's have your agreements. Because what is actually happens is a child explodes into life and suddenly conflict starts. You're not supporting me enough. It's my child, it's not your child. And there are a lot of arguments. The birth of a child sometimes brings a lot of conflicts. And for instance, there's something called postnatal depression. Postnatal depression, according to the medical profession, is a hormonal imbalance when a woman gives birth. But the question is, why someone get it and some don't? And the answer is very simple. When a woman does not get enough support when she is with the baby, at that moment she will start to feel sad, which is called postnatal depression. So we need to have an agreement before we bring a child to the world, what kind of education and value system and how much we want to share the responsibilities. What is the role of each parent bringing up a child and raising a child?
It is a huge, I believe. I believe
Yeah.
everything starts. We say that in our country, a child is a mirror of any family, of your family.
Yes. Yeah.
But if they don't have this agreement before, they don't rationally understand the
Uh-huh.
responsibility, and they
Yeah.
have people who have a behavioral problem in age 2 or 3.
Yeah.
What can we advise them? How can they deal with them? I believe the meditation, they cannot teach them to meditate if they're not meditating themselves.
Okay. So one of the things that we are talking about is called education. And and when I say I'm not a therapist, I'm an educator, okay, I'm actually teach people to think differently. So from time to time, a parent sends me a child and saying, my child does not behave, my child does not clean the room. Can you treat my child? The child is just a symptom. A child is a result of the parents. So usually I say to the parents, if you agree, leave the child at home and let's come yourselves, both of you, and we're going to discuss. I help you to communicate with each other and find a suitable solution for the both of you. Let's see what we can agree on.
I believe there is not a common answer for that, but maybe there is something that you come across maybe twice or 3 times. What was that?
You see, I prefer not to give answers. I prefer people to find the answer within themselves.
Within themselves.
Okay, but the idea is communication. It's always about communication. It's all about sitting together and deciding. Because sometimes it happens sometimes on an unconscious level that the father starts to be jealous because the attention from the mother went more to the child.
Mm-hmm.
So it happens a lot that father is much more strict with the child and the mother is much more softer with the child. And children are very clever, very, very clever. And they actually know exactly where they stand. And when they need something, they know who to ask. And sometimes parents are competing with each other, who will be the best parent. So when one parent says no, the other parent might say yes.
Exactly. That happened a lot.
Yeah, it does happen a lot. And let's not forget the grandparents that come to the picture, and they also play the same game.
Clearly speaking, the questions I'm addressing you today, because I had a very frank talk with my friend today, who is a mother of 3. And she
Yeah.
asked, please, can you ask him? Because I have a problems with dealing with my son. He's 3 years old and he's changing every month. And I want to be his friend. I want to help him to grow in a certain way. Can you ask him to give me advice with that? What can I do for that? For example, in when he was 2 years, he was very naughty, not listening to her. Now he's changing. He's starting to follow her ways. She doesn't want to be demanding, but she wants to help him. And that's
Yeah.
why I was asking you all those questions. How the parent can deal with a child, not a difficult child. There is no such a thing, I believe.
Okay. The interesting word that you use now is the word friend. Okay. Maybe we need to put the friend before the parent.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, sometimes what we forget to do is to ask a child, what do you need? I want you to imagine a parent looking at the child's eyes and asking the child a simple question. How would you like me to be, and what would you like me to do to be the best parent for you? We don't ask questions at these children, because sometimes we know better than them what's good for them. Eat this, it's good for you. I am cold, so you need to wear extra sweaters. We don't ask children what they want or what they need. Ask your child. And apart from that, okay, I remember once a woman asked me, how to be the best parent for my child. So here is my answer. If you want to be a good parent to your child, you know better how to do it. Just remember how you were as a child at that age and what you needed.
That's so true.
The moment you remember yourself as a child, you can be, and what were your needs as a child? What were your feelings as a child? What were your fears as a child? At that moment, if you can remember and get in touch with it, you can become the best parent ever.
Exactly.
You just forget the child inside us. Get in touch with your inner child.
And also, I will go back to that, what you just said. In one of your interviews, you said that there is always a child living within us.
Yes.
And
The child we once were.
Would be the way to start with. Maybe for me, it's a little bit late now, but I still want to do that. I still want to learn how to communicate with my own selves. I believe most of us in the humanity nowadays are missing the point how to communicate and listen to ourselves, inner ourselves.
Okay, it's very simple. All I want you to do now is to listen to me. And I want you to imagine that a little child is standing now in front of you. And this little child is the little you. And I want you to look at the face and the eyes of this little child. And when you look at the face and the eyes of the little child, what do you see in the eyes of this little you? And when you look at the eyes of this little child that you once were, you are the only person or world that knows what this child is feeling and what this child needs. And as you are the only person that knows it, what would you like to say and to do with this child? Because you see, I want to ask all parents a simple question. When was the last time you look at your child's eyes and you said to your child, I love you and I'm proud of you? And the next question I want to ask, the adult parent, when was the last time when you were a child, your father and mother looked in the eyes and told you, I love you and I'm proud of you? And the sad thing is that a lot of people say to me, I never heard it from my parents. And this is sad.
This is very sad. Unfortunately, that happens a lot today. And I'd like to go back to transpersonal psychology and address one interesting point that I've heard again from you, that a mind and the body are two different entities. I wanted to ask you personally, how can we find a way to communicate these two with each other? Okay. Is there any guidelines?
Okay. Our mind usually escapes to the past or to the future. We think about what happened yesterday and we worry what might happen tomorrow. The only thing that is present in the here and now is our physical body. And our physical body talks to us all the time.
Exactly, expresses
because the body never lies. So you see, when we have a headache, okay, let's talk about a headache for a moment.
Yes.
Let me explain metaphorically. I want you to imagine that you're driving your car and suddenly you hear a horrible noise coming out of the engine. You stop your car, you open your bag, you take earplugs and you plug it in your ears because you don't want to hear the noise anymore, and you continue driving until the engine will explode. Not a very clever thing to do. So when we have a headache, what we do, we take a painkiller and we continue. The headache is still there, but we don't feel it anymore. Can we just stop for a moment, ask ourselves, what happened that I have a headache? What my headache is trying to tell me? And with any physiological disorder, including cancer, I always ask my clients a simple question, two simple questions. How long ago did it start? And what happened in your life around the time? And those two questions are actually showing us what is the cause of the problem. All we do is we're taking chemicals and we're suppressing the emotions.
Most of the time. I do that all myself. I have headache, I take the painkiller, I try to kill the pain, but I don't try to find why it's happening.
Ah.
That's the hectic life pushed us to do that. Why leave it?
Okay, sorry, can I correct you for a moment?
Of course.
I've got some good news. Life is not difficult. I've got bad news. Life is not easy. Life is life. We make it difficult or easy. Life is not hectic. There is no such thing as life. We're making it hectic. Because I want each one of you that is listening to me right now, I want to ask yourself a very simple question. What do you do for fun? When was the last time you gave yourself time to do nothing? What do you do for fun? And some people take a long time to think and to find an answer.
A lot, even I do right now. Listening to music, is it helping?
As long as you listen to music and you not start thinking in the middle of the music about what happened yesterday and what might be happening tomorrow.
But that's so difficult to stop brain of thinking.
Okay.
I have that difficulty. Every
yeah.
night I go to bed, before I sleep, I spend 2 hours thinking.
So in transverse psychology, and I also very much recommend it to do in education, starting from kindergarten, there's something called mindfulness. Mindfulness is a form of meditation, that I just sit and listen to my breathing and listen to my body and even listen to my heart. We don't listen. We talk too much and we don't listen. And then when we have nobody to talk with, we're talking to ourselves non-stop. We argue with ourselves all the time. We're fighting ourselves with ourselves. And when you fight with yourself, you always lose.
That's true. Like in my case.
Yeah.
I will try to listen to my body tonight.
Yeah.
Is it a part of a meditation?
It is similar to meditation. It is similar because it's something, it's something very simple. Meditation is more an Eastern tradition when we have to empty our head totally. Now, we are not Eastern people. We are actually living in the West, in the Western hectic life, as you call it. Okay? So it's a question of listening to our breathing, to our heartbeat, to our body, and just it's a question of practice. It takes time to actually train yourself as an adult to do it. With children, it's very easy. The younger they are, the quicker they learn it. Because imagine for a moment that we introduce mindfulness in the kindergarten. There is something called attention deficit disorder. In my opinion, if we teach children to do mindfulness, to just sit quiet and listen to themselves, in my opinion, what is called attention deficit disorder will disappear. Sometimes you enter the kindergarten and she's just running around and screaming, and the kindergarten teacher tries to scream even louder, and there's so much noise.
Exactly, it's even more
Yeah.
noisy than that. That will be very interesting to practice that in kindergarten. Hopefully that's possible as well. I also know that you are practicing hypnosis. I would like to ask you something about it. It's something that always was fascinating me, the part of hypnosis. There's
Yeah.
something mysterious about it. I believe most of the people who are listening us now thinking the same way. What is it, literally?
Okay. Now, there's nothing mysterious about it. Okay, there were too many stupid American movies about it that actually gave it a very bad name. When okay, every normal person, I'm talking about normal person, goes into a hypnotic state of mind between 4 to 8 times an hour. Every time that your mind leaves the here and now and goes somewhere else, you are actually in a trance state. When I said to you, and I want you to imagine a little child standing in front of you, the moment you use your imagination, you move from the here and now into some kind of an imaginary place. This is already hypnosis. Now, why hypnosis? In my opinion, and I might be wrong, because you see, we are still so ignorant and so primitive and we know so little. So in my opinion, and I might be wrong, all our so-called problems, physical and emotional, are illogical and irrational. There's nothing logical about our problems. If our problems are illogical, they're created by our imagination. And any attempt to analyze or explain rationally why a problem has happened will be a complete waste of time. So in order, if the problem is created by the imagination, let's use the imagination to help the person. And we all know that the best way to imagine something is to close your eyes. And I want you to imagine that you're going back to your childhood house to meet the child that you once were.
I will.
And look at the eyes of this child. Is this child happy? Is this child sad? Is this child scared? Is this child curious? And you see, you already closed your eyes, and now at this moment, you are actually hypnotized.
Yes.
And it's already, I can actually see that it's already affecting you. This is something very simple. It's something, a natural state of mind that we are using for therapeutic purposes.
Yes.
Because there is something called the conscious and the unconscious. The conscious mind is the screen of the computer. The screen of the computer is limited in size. The unconscious mind is the hard disk of the computer. All the files that we ever written in our life are stored in the hard disk of the computer. So what we actually do in hypnosis, we go into the hard disk of our computer, which is the mind. We're finding the file that is causing the problem. We're putting it on the screen, but we're not erasing it. We are renaming it. We're giving it, instead of a negative name, a positive name, and we put it back. Because it's never too late to have a happy childhood. You can start now.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you ever so much. I think,
You're welcome.
I just try to stop there.